I'm Monica Stynchula. And guess what? You may think I'm old, but I'm not. Look at me. Do I look old? Do I look old to you? Do I look old to you? Do you know why? Because I found a doctor that will lower my hairline, raise my assets. I found a pill that cleaned out my arteries, one that makes me sleep like a teenager, and another one that makes me sharper. Medical science can do great things these days for us. I can fix my eyes, I can fix my ears, I can lighten my hair when I need to, and I can go to the gym. I'm not old. I'm not old. I can use creams to fix my face, to get rid of my multiple chins. I can do whatever I need to do to change my age. I'll give you an example. Look at them. Do you think of them as old? Do you think of them in terms of their age? You don't count them. Do you think of them in terms of their age? Have you put them in a box because of their age? I think we should get rid of the whole notion of age, because I think it's holding us back. I think it holds every one of us back, because we make some judgments about each other depending on age and what your age is supposed to be. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Look at all those people up there. They use social media all the time. So do I. I have Facebook, Google, Twitter, Google Plus, I guess, Twitter, the Vine, Instagram. I have all those accounts. And you can't tell from my accounts if I'm young or old, can you? You can't tell anything about my posts that gives away my age unless I decide to. I can drive a sports car. I can hook you. I can do all kinds of things that will erase my age. But will you stop judging me for what my age is? And will I stop judging you as a young person because you're young? Just because you're young. That you're maybe silly or naive or simplistic. Will I stop doing that? I think it's time to start doing that. Because the reality is, we're all aging. Even our youngster in the audience, she's aging, right? We go from toddler to school age to high school. We're always constantly aging. So we've turned the term age into something that's been derogatory, but my point to you is it's happening to all of us. So let's see what we can do with it. And there's a guy that came up with a really cool theory that erases age, but puts us into phases. His name is Dr. William Sadler. He's at Holy Name University. And he believes that we live in stages in our lives. And those stages aren't always the same, right? I mean, we know the precocious kid that goes to school at 3 and he's reading at 3. We know about the teenager that takes maybe the socialized college degree. We know of the kids that are in high school and they develop a skill and they're right off to work right away, right? So age doesn't really, those landmarks of age aren't what they used to be. We know 16 is still for your driver's license, right? 15 is for your learner's permit, 18 for voting, 21 for drinking legally. But think of the other end of the spectrum. How many people know what you do at 50? What's 50 stand for? It stands for a whole bunch of diagnostic tests you're supposed to have done. 65 is meant in our society retirement. Retirement. Who retires at 65 these days? Is age really the barometer that we need to tell us when these things should happen? I don't think so either. I don't think so. So we spend our early years in preparation. That's when we have all the first. You get your first tooth, you walk for the first time, you go to school, you have your first love, all those firsts that are not just fun for you, but fun for everyone around you. We all enjoy celebrating those firsts. Then you step into the achievement phase where you're out gathering all the new roles in your life. So you have your job, you have your status in your relationship, you have all these different roles that for years you gather together and they become what you are. So when you're standing at a networking event and someone said, "Who are you?" you pull out one of those roles and that's how you define yourself. We all do it. We all do it. We spend our 20s, 30s, and 40s gathering all these different accomplishments together, don't we? And sometimes we have setbacks in the process. That happens along the way too, but that's our achievement period. After achievement comes fulfillment, but something happens in between. Something happens to transition you from being an achiever and going into the fulfillment stage. And in the 1970s, they called it the midlife crisis. It's the first time they started talking about it. And what they were talking about is that disillusionment with, I'm working so hard, my family obligations are so much, there's never enough money, all these things all together going, is this really what I'm working? Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? I mean, is this what it's all about? Is that why we do all these things? They called it the midlife crisis, and the next time they talked about it, they called it the new second age. So social scientists were getting this idea like, something's changing. Something about that old curve that we all assumed was going to happen from the cradle up to where you peak in your career, and down at 65 you retire and then you sail off into the sunset. But this was going to be a nice, orderly life, right? That orderly life isn't happening anymore. Something has changed. And what's changed is, we have this spell, but once we get up to the top, it doesn't go back down. It may come down some, but we have gotten an extra 30 years to our life, and it's called the longevity period. And it's really cool. You know, in 1900, the life expectancy was 47 years. 47 years. Do you know what it was in 2000? 77 years. Because in 1900, people were doing a lot of hard physical labor. And so it was wearing their bodies out. So 65 was really a time to sit back and relax because, let's be honest, you were tired by then. But we live in an information age now. We don't do that hard physical labor that our predecessors did. So we have this extra 30 years before we start to trail off. And that extra 30 years is called the fulfillment stage. And I want to talk to you about it because I write my fulfillment stage right here on my red rug. And the coolest part about being in fulfillment is it's the time in your life where you get to look back at all those experiences, all those achievements, and all those firsts, and you start to see a pattern. And you start to see, I can do something different. I can do something. You know, what I learned from all those jobs all along, and from raising my family, I think we could do this better. It was what Louisa was talking about, when a task becomes routine, that after a while, it gets outsourced. You know, we do that naturally in our lives as well. As we start to assimilate all of these different experiences that we have, we reach a point where we do that to ourselves as well. So, you'll all hit fulfillment at some point in your life, or you're in it now. And so I want to talk to you about the elements of your fulfillment time so that you can write your new script of what it's going to mean for you. When we're younger, different elements of our life take different priorities, right? You know, when you're very young, it's all about learning. It's all about your family. And then when you get a bit older, it's about work. And work is most important in your life. The cool part about being in your fulfillment period is that it's all about assimilating all that together and choosing which parts of these are most important to you. Now, some people truly use their fulfillment period because they have to. You know, the highest unemployment rate in the country is for people over 50 years old. And it's not that they lack skills. The problem is people assume, we go back to age, don't we? People assume they're older workers, they don't have as much to offer. But the reality is they have more to offer because all of those previous experiences have taught them so much. So a lot of people use their fulfillment period because they have to, because economically they've been drained, they need to get the resources back that they've lost over all of the recessions. So it will be different for each person on which elements are most important to you. But my point is, I want you to think of your fulfillment plan with all of those aspects together. You have 30 years. This is a gift. This is your longevity gift. You have 30 years to play this out. And the plan you make today doesn't have to be the same plan 5 years from now. But my point is, take advantage of the opportunity to look at all of those elements and decide what it's going to be for you. So I'm going to show you some examples. Some of my friends here. Oh, Beth. I want you to meet George Medeiros and Scott Dufresne. These two gentlemen moved down from the Northeast over to St. Petersburg, and the reason they moved down here is sunshine. And the second reason they moved here is they wanted to work in disadvantaged neighborhoods, rehabbing the housing and working with the community associations to reduce the crime rate. So they moved into South St. Petersburg, started buying up dilapidated housing, and used their artistic skills to create these art houses. Well, guess what happened? 2008. 2008 happened to all of us. And these fellows had to retool what they were going to do. So today, they own Spathos. They own a company that makes organic fine art out of the woody parts of palm trees. They make dresses out of palm trees. And they're not from Gilligan's Island. They make jewelry, they make dresses, they make purses. The coolest part of all is these fellows haven't lost their focus on the community. So the profits from their company go back to revitalize the community. The profits from their company go for putting out other art events, doing things in the school. These fellows have combined their work life, their play life, and their community service as part of their fulfillment period. My next friend, when she went for her first job, she had to wear white gloves, had to have her parents sign work papers so that she could go to work. She was building computer hardware at the age of 16. She has spent her entire life creating hardware and software. My friend is Margaret Jean Cannon. She is an amazing woman. Jean runs the Technology Circle for the Institute for the Ages down in Sarasota. Now, Jean has worked for IBM, she's worked for CompuServe, she's worked for Verizon, and she's traveled all over the world. Jean is a well-accomplished career woman, but Jean knew that she had a gift. So the first place she went to help others learn about technology was in the early 1980s. She went to a college campus on Oakland University because they had the first PCs. So she volunteered in their PC, their student lab, so that she can get her hands on the PCs. And then stuck around and did her MBA while she was there. But Jean always gave to other people. So the next place she went was to a women's prison because she wanted to teach them a life skill so when they get out they have something to do. She couldn't teach them computer skills because they wouldn't listen, because they had other things on their mind being in prison. So she bought them hairbrushes and makeup. And once she got them some self-esteem, then she taught them computer skills. She's done the same thing now in Sarasota. Down in Sarasota, she teaches at the YMCA for senior citizens so that they're no longer socially isolated. They use the computer lab there so that they can get out and use computers and be a part of the community again. Jean has combined so many different elements of her life into her fulfillment plan. It's created for her a rich life as she goes forward. I have an invitation for all of you, and it involves my last example here. We have an event coming up here in Tampa Bay called Engage 2.0. It's an opportunity to help you develop your fulfillment plan. It's going to happen in October, October 21st, and our leader is Bevan Gray-Rogel. Bevan has always had a leadership company, but Bevan, as time has gone on, has realized that she needs to encourage others to think about what their encore is going to be. What do they want next? And that's always her question. What's next? What's next? So we're going to have a community event so that we can help to guide you on what's next for you personally. And the last part, the last elements I want to talk to you about as you make your fulfillment plan are two that are very important to me, and they are self-care and family and friends. Self-care means I want you to make sure that when you make your fulfillment plan, that you think of yourself first, that you think of what you need going forward. Martyrdom is out. If you take care of yourself, you can add 7.5 years to your longevity. You need to take care and make sure that you're giving as well as receiving. So self-care is very important. But second, what's important to me and what I do for a living as a social worker is I help people take care of their families. You know, we're the sandwich generation. We're the first generation that are taking care of our parents at the same time as we're raising our children, or maybe even have grandchildren. We're sandwiched right in the middle. And we want to help take care of people on both sides of the spectrum. In order to do it, we need to have a plan. And we can document those plans, we can use technology to make sure, even if we're at a distance from each other, that we pull each other together and that we take care of each other. So I encourage you, make sure that your family and friends, that you choose them wisely, that you engage them in your life, that you talk openly about what it is that you want and what you want going forward. Make them a part of your fulfillment plan. Because the reality is, we are all aging. Every single one of us. Some of us a little faster than others. But I'm here to tell you, it's a great adventure. Use that extra 30 years of longevity that you've been given wisely, because it is a gift. Thank you.